Let's go ahead and get to the latest with Israel. We've got a number of updates we wanted to get to here. First of all, I'll save my opinion on this for a moment, but a number of states, specifically UK, Australia, and Canada, have all coordinated coming out and saying we are now going to recognize a Palestinian state. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
Australia will recognise the state of Palestine.
Canada intends to recognise the state of Palestine.
The Israeli government's relentless and increasing bombardment of Gaza, the offensive of recent weeks, the starvation and devastation are utterly intolerable. We call again on the Israeli government to lift the unacceptable restrictions at the border, stop these cruel tactics, and let the aid surge in. With the actions of Hamas, the Israeli government escalating the conflict, and settlement building being accelerated in the West Bank, the hope of a two-state solution is fading. That the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognise a Palestinian state also.
So it's the sign, certainly, of how untenable Israel's position is globally, but it's also, you know, it's really incredibly ineffectual from these nations as well. You know, now that Palestinian state has been destroyed, the West Bank has been all but annexed, Gaza is being leveled as we speak. Now you're going to recognize a Palestinian state, but you're not going to do any of the things that would actually hurt Israel, right? You're not going to like sanction them or cut off trade or, you know, do any of the sorts of things that could actually tighten the grip on them economically, which would be far more painful than just some like theoretical recognition that, okay, I guess it's better than nothing. But it seems calibrated to like signal to their population that they hear them and they're concerned and they're doing a thing without actually doing any of the things that would be more difficult.
I don't know, because at the same time, like, state recognition is a huge thing that comes with UN privileges. These are nuclear armed states in some cases. They're members of NATO, of Five Eyes, the Anglosphere. Like, that is a statement in and of itself. Like, look, I think nothing will ever please a lot of the liberals who are like it's like, look, we live in political reality. Like, an arms embargo from the West is not going to happen. But a statement of recognition for Palestine is still something, because what it means is that if Israel were to completely annex all of what recognized as Palestine, that does leave, you know, the door open to at least saying like, no, we're not going to recognize this. There will be punishment for it. There will be the same like international norms violation. For them, you know, if you put it in the same context of Russia and in Ukraine, it gives them a consistency to say like, we don't support, you know, going past these types of borders. So it's not inconsequential. It's still a big deal. I mean, I get it. You know, everybody's like, oh, we want an international arms embargo. Listen, it's not happening. Like, it's one of those where, you know, in the context of the U.S. as the global superpower, the guarantor of security, and who do you think makes all of those weapons? America. As long as America is going to go along with this is, frankly, like, even in terms of a diplomatic break, is pretty extraordinary. Like, this is the special relationship the UK, Canada, Australia, these are the closest allies the U.S. has. For them to break with us, especially after a state visit by Trump, who was just there yesterday in the UK, that's a huge deal.
All right, well, I'll take it then. Let's go ahead and take a listen to Trump's reaction to the state recognition.
Is there any use at all in pressuring Israel now to come to some sort of longer-term solution?
Well, you could make the case that you're rewarding people, that, you know, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that. And I don't think they should be rewarded. So I'm not in that camp, to be honest. We'll let you know where we are, but I am not in that camp.
Mr. President,
because if you do that, you really are rewarding Hamas.
And I don't know about you, Saagar, but it seems like, if anything, his position in the past several weeks has become even more hardened. Like, he used to say things like, call for the end of the starvation, even if he wasn't willing to act. He's been spewing some of the most insane atrocity like October 7th atrocity lies and propaganda in recent weeks. And then you have this where he's like, this is a reward for terrorism, a reward to Hamas, et cetera. So, it seems like he's become increasingly locked in an absolutist position. I guess he smells that real estate development money or whatever. But I don't know if
people
you've
say
noted that same.
I don't think so.
You don't
He
think
just
what
believes-
about the?
I don't think it's. I think it's personal. He believes this for some reason. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. I have a lot of
We can
theories.
speculate.
Yeah, I have theories personally.
Let the audience speculate.
It baffles. It baffles people around him. I can tell you that with confidence. It baffles a lot of the people who work for him. I know that for a fact. Nobody knows. It's like a personal thing, and he believes this stuff to his core. Whether it's my speculation is that the circumvention of the traditional process, where critics and all those others can get into his ear, is that in Mar-a-Lago, in his social circle, and everywhere else, there's never a price to be paid for not being pro-Israel enough. There's endless amounts of money. There's endless amounts of social acclamation. Miriam Adelson, all of his people at Mar-a-Lago, Bibi, CBS, Larry Ellison, Murdoch. What's the price to be paid?
Yeah.
Right? So why not just go with it? That's an innocent explanation. That's what I will say. There are a lot more nefarious ones out there that people believe, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's worth even speculating about what's driving
the net
it.
effect
If he's
is-
like the net effect is the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does make somewhat of a theoretical difference. We were thinking going into this administration that, look, Trump's transactional. If someone can offer him something on the other side, or he thinks it makes him look good to effectuate some sort of a peace deal, maybe there's more of a possibility there than there was with Biden, who was a dyed-in-the-wool ideological Zionist. So to your point, maybe you're right. Maybe it is more ideological for him than we thought it was. My theory is less some sort of like actual ideological commitment to Zionism, and more just like the Trumpian worldview of who's with me and who's against me. We know that he barked at Charlie Kirk when Kirk came in and was posing the Iran strike. And so he may feel like, oh, these people are pain in the ass, they're criticizing me, like they're undermining my foreign policy. And that has made him more hardened at this point in his just like absolute support for Israel, no matter what. I think it's still a very live possibility, though, because we see the way he operates in other spheres of foreign policy. His self-interest obviously does drive a lot of what he does and a lot of the decisions that he makes. So, if he's looking at this as a real estate deal and a great opportunity for him and Kushner and his family, that would certainly be a motivating factor as well, and could be a mix of all of these things, certainly. At the same time, we don't want to lose sight of what's happening on the ground in Gaza right now. Gaza City, we can put this up on the screen, is being absolutely leveled. This was a massive apartment building, 15-story apartment building that was just blown to bits and leveled down to the ground. You can see people fleeing as the dust and all the debris flies. Gaza City, the ground invasion has begun. It's quite clear they want to make it unlivable. This was the major city in Gaza. They want to make it unlivable so no one can ever come back. And so that then you're forced into this, okay, well, Gaza's unlivable, so you're going to stay here, or you're going to go to whatever country they figure out that is willing to take some significant number of Palestinians. And, that really is the plan. There was another piece of political news here in the U.S. that is pretty significant. Put E4 up on the screen. You have the entirety of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, that's over 100 Democratic members of Congress, who have now backed the Block the Bombs Act. And this would prohibit any money going to offensive weapons for Israel. They still make this, I think, stupid, arbitrary distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. Basically like, okay, we could still fund the Iron Dome, but we're going to block any other offensive weapon shipments to Israel. And, it is compared to past orientation of both parties, but the Democratic Party in particular, vis-a-vis Israel, to have now over 100 members of the House saying we stand in opposition to any offensive weapons going, is quite a significant, that is a pretty landmark shift in terms of the orientation of the Democratic Party towards this nation state.
Yeah, but my question is how much that will pervade, how much that will be taken seriously by whoever runs for president. And I think that's still a live question. It's one of those where I know that the Democratic base is where it is.
Yeah.
The question is, where does it rank and to what ends, and how, if you were a Trumpian style figure, what you would do is rhetorically kind of please all sides of the debate, which I still think is kind of possible if you look at it in terms of how you would operationalize it against Israel. You could say the right words, but you may not. You could also keep the right people in action if there's no organized force. And then as long as you center it around anti-Trump, then a lot of this is most likely not going to, I don't think it would win out, just because if you think about the amount of power that you would have to take on for this to become the mainstream position, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's just where I continue to wonder, like, where this will head in a political direction. I don't deny its political constituency, the level of passion people have around it, but I just know how these people operate. And I've watched it with many of my own issues get shuttled to the side in a political coalition when you're up against real power, even if what you think is popular, like Ukraine or something like that. Well, Trump is president, it goes out the window. So I really wonder how it will come in the next administration.
I think we'll get a little bit of a sense in the midterms because you have a lot of candidates that I've been sort of like tracking on the side who are entering into primaries against AIPAC Democrats, who are, or going for open seats or going up against Republicans who are explicitly anti-genocide, anti-AIPAC, putting that at the center of their politics. And, if you have a real sort of like Tea Party wave for Democrats in 2026, where, the operating issue, like one of the animating issues, is opposition to genocide, that is going to send a message to a lot of cynical operators for 2028 about where the winds are blowing and where they need to be. So I do think we'll get some, Graham Plattner is a perfect example in Maine, probably going to be up against Janet Mills, who is the sitting governor of the state. Plattner has made no bones about him being, opposed to genocide, wants to stop all weapons from going, very outspoken. For him to win, he comes out of nowhere. If he were to beat the sitting governor of Maine to win the Senate nomination there, like that would be extraordinary. You've got Abdul El-Sayed, obviously we're tracking Zoran as well, but there are a lot of congressional candidates that aren't even on people's radars. And so I think we'll get a sense of how that storyline is developing in the midterms.
Zoran would be less important. I get it, the Jewish city, biggest Jewish city outside of Tel Aviv, but it's still lib central. Maine and Michigan is a whole other story. That's where it's like, that's a flashing red light. If you think back to it, it's kind of like Jim Webb, who won in 2006 on the anti-Iraq war position. And that was a beating, or there were others, I forget exactly. There were a lot of anti-war Democrats who were elected in the 06 primary in like deep red states. And that's what made a lot of the Republicans and others be like, oh shit, like we're done with Iraq at this point. And so that's what needs to happen. Like you need to send a signal that in the heartland and in swing districts, if that's a winning message, that's how you kill something true.
And then you have Obama win in 2008 in part because of his anti-Iraq war position and Hillary Clinton's complicity. Two more cultural elements that are just interesting to track here with regard to Israel. Put this up on the screen. There is an effort to prevent a Tuesday vote on expelling the country from this European Soccer League, the Union of European Football Association, UEFA. I'm sure there's some way people pronounce that, but I don't know how. Anyway, apparently there's an effort to have a vote around expelling them and their teams from this league. They say the Israel Football Association was working around the clock and recruiting allies and friends of Israel in the sports and diplomatic worlds to work to prevent that vote. They said, we are working it on all fronts. The report added officials in Jerusalem believe friendly countries like Germany and Hungary will fight for the vote not to be held. But the outlet said that a Qatari pressure campaign that began following the Israeli strike on Hamas leaders in Doha earlier this month appears to have failed to kill the terror chief, so halting Qatar's mediated talks on a ceasefire in Gaza. But that's when the pressure started, is after those attacks on Doha. So now there are a number of countries trying to get them kicked out of this European Soccer League. And then we have one more thing. There's a question of whether Israel will be allowed to compete in the Eurovision song contest as well. This was interesting reporting from Sky News about pressure here. Countries including Spain, Ireland, and the Netherlands are already threatened to withdraw from the event if Israel is included. Worth noting, Russia got kicked out after they invaded Ukraine. So it's not like there's no precedent for entire countries to be barred from the competition. And I didn't really know much about Eurovision, to be honest with you guys, but apparently Spain's opposition and their commitment to withdrawing is particularly noteworthy because they are one of 5 countries that provide most of the funding for Eurovision. So they hold a lot of So it's seen as significant that Spain is involved in these boycott efforts. So we will see what happened there. Last year, Israel got second in the competition.
What?
And there was kind of a freak out. There, I don't know.
How
Someone
are
else
they
is
in
gonna,
Eurovision? I don't get it.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm not equipped to answer it.
Okay. I mean, look at a map.
But
what are we talking about?
There's also allegations. I don't know exactly how the judging works.
Yeah.
I think there's a public component and then there's a judging component.
Yeah, that's right.
And there were a lot of allegations that they were like using like bots and like kind of rigging the public component. And that's why they scored so high. But I don't know whether that's true or not. I have not analyzed the veracity of these claims. But there was a real freak out because whoever wins then hosts the competition the next year. So if Israel won, then the competition would be in Israel.
Wow.
And you can imagine there would have been all sorts, like even more countries that were boycotting and artists that didn't want to participate, et cetera. So anyway, some cultural pressure that is being brought to bear here.
So apparently it's that the European Broadcasting Union, not the European Union, is the one who puts on Eurovision. Israel's national broadcaster is a full member of the EBU. Membership is open to broadcasters from countries that are, quote, within the European broadcast area as defined by the International Telecommunication Union. Other non-European participants include Morocco, Australia. Okay, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me, Eurovision, kick out Morocco, Australia, and Israel. Like, what are we doing here? It's nuts. It's like Australia can have its own Australia's voice.
Israel, that's
no,
that's
I mean, it's Morocco is not in Europe. The whole foundation of Europe is that Morocco's not in Europe. That's the whole point. What are we doing here?
That's the whole
It's
point
going to
of
drive me
Europe.
nuts. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. There's some Spaniard who defeated the Moors is turning over in his grave at that idea. All right, whatever. Okay, we'll have a great show for everybody tomorrow. Krystal, you'll be out, but I'll be in with Ryan.
Yeah, and
I
I'll
will
be
be
in for
out
Ryan on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll be out later in the week. I'm going home to Texas, but anyway, yeah. Ghislaine, by the way, anybody who works down in Bryan at the facility, contact me. I would love to make contact. All right, we'll see you guys later. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.